Hello and welcome back to Baking on a Budget. In this video we are going to be making some of these. These are beautiful deep filled mince and onion pies. Now first, as usual, let's go through the ingredients. Now again, this is a short crust pastry and today we are using 200 grams of plain flour, 10 pence. We're using 50 grams of butter at 37 pence. We are using 50 grams of lard at 10 pence, and we have a pinch of salt and about 3.5–4 tablespoons of cold water. For the filling, we are going to be using 250 grams of lean mince. This is about 5% fat content, and that is £1.67. We're going to use one onion, about 9 pence. We have a stick of celery, which is about 6 pence. A stock cube at 12 pence. We have a crack of black pepper, maybe 2 pence. And we have 2 teaspoons of cornflour at 4 pence. And there's a little water in there as well. Okay, so we're going to make the pastry first, and we can let that chill in the fridge whilst we're making the filling. I'm just going to run through the pastry quickly. If you want to see a pastry video in more detail, there is a link here to one where I will show you exactly how I make this pastry in great detail. But what we want is the 200 grams of plain flour into the bowl, and with that we want a pinch of salt. Now the fats have been chilling in the fridge, and what we have is, as I say, 50 grams of butter and 50 grams of lard, and we're just going to knock that into the flour, and then we start rubbing the fats into the flour. And I believe I forgot to mention the total cost of this recipe yet again. The total cost is £2.53, and we're going to get 3 deep filled mince and onion pies out of that, individual mince and onion pies. Each pie works out at 84 pence a piece. Now I did look in the shops to see if I could find a comparable pie, and the closest I could get was a local bakery around here, and their pies were £2.19 each. That's all of the fat rubbed into the flour. Now we're just going to add some water, and I'm going to add about 3.5 tablespoons. Okay, now we just want to stir that in, and the pastry will start to come together. That is looking good. Now, some cling film on that, and into the fridge it goes. Okay, so as the pastry is cooling in the fridge, it's time to make the filling. The veg for this, we want about half of this onion, and we want this stick of celery chopped up. Now, celery in a mince pie, or in any mince dish really, gives it a real nice tang, and I always include a bit of celery if I'm using a mince dish. I'm only using half of it. That will be plenty. And we also just want to chop up this stick of celery. Okay, that's all that chopped up, looking good. Alright, so I've got the pan over a fairly low heat. A little bit of oil in the bottom there, not a lot. And we just want to put the veg, the onion and the celery into the pan. Just want them onions to soften a little bit and the celery to soften also. Alrighty, that's been going for a few minutes, probably about 3–4 minutes, and I'm seeing that's looking good. So next thing we want to add to that is our minced beef. As I say, this is 250 grams of lean minced beef, about a 5% fat content, and we just want to break that down in the pan and keep it on the heat until it is all browned. Alright, that's had about 5 minutes, 7 minutes on there, and that is looking like the right sort of consistency. That meat is all browned, it's all crumbed, and that's looking good. Alright, now here I have dissolved the stock cube in about 75 millilitres of hot water, and that's ready to go in there. We don't want too much water in here, we don't want the mixture to be too sloppy. So we just want to mix that in, get that well coated, that's good. Now I'm going to give that a crack of black pepper. We just want to let that simmer for a while and cook through, and then we'll add the cornflour last, just to thicken the whole thing up. Okay, so while the mince is bubbling away, probably wants about 20 minutes to reduce it properly. And we're going to make these pies in these small individual pie dishes. which I've already given a coat of lard, and we just want to cut the pastry to fit these dishes. So I'm going to chop a piece off, roughly into thirds, and we want to bring this together. A little bit of flour on the board, and a little on the pin, and we can just roll that out. 2-3 millimeters thick, and I think we've almost got enough there. This old plate as a template to cut round, like so. And then we want to take the pastry and pop it in the tin. Best to curl up the edges a little just so you don't split it as you're putting it into the corners, because these are quite deep tins. Just push that in with the thumbs. Looking good. And then any excess, again, we'll just whip off with the back of the knife. And with a bit of luck, we should have enough here to make the lid. If not, we can always add a little bit more to that, bring it together, and make the lid. Okay, same thing. We just want to roll that out and make the lid a little thicker if you wish. Maybe, you know, make that about 4 millimeters thick, and it'll be a nice crisp crust on the top of the pie. Alright, that's roughly it. We can take one of these tins now and cut the top. And there it is. Same thing again for the other two. Okay, so that's reduced nicely. All of the ingredients are nicely combined, and the only thing we want to add to that at this point is our cornflour. This will just thicken the whole thing up and make it much nicer in those pies. So we just add the cornflour, stir it in, still on the heat, and what we're after with this is a fairly thick sort of gravy. And one test for that is if you pull it away and this doesn't fill back up. Do you see that? If the mixture is too runny and you half it like that, this area here will fill up with liquid straight away. There's some coming into it here, not too much, so I'm saying that's good. Okay, so we can turn that off the heat at this point and just let it cool a little before we put it in the pies. Much better to have it cooled first. Alrighty, so it's time to combine all of this. We have our cases, we have our lids ready, and we have our mixture, which has cooled a little, still steaming a little bit, but this will be okay. Now, can you see the consistency of that? It's sort of holding together. It's not too sloppy, but it's not too stiff either. It's still nice and moist, and that's going to make a beautiful pie. Now, we just want to try to distribute this, oops, not onto the board, but into the pies evenly. A little bit falling on the board there. I'll scoop it up. There it is. That's a nice deep filling. And that has made those 3 pies just fine. Now we want to put the tops on here, and for this I do have some egg wash. Now here's a point. I did get a few comments on other videos about not including the price of the egg for the egg wash. Now the egg is actually 13p, but it's not going to use a whole egg to wash these few pies. So it's a very minimal cost. It's a fraction of a penny probably, which is why I didn't include it in the overall cost. But what we want to do with these is just put the lids on, press them down with the thumbs, and we'll come back and crimp them when they're all done. You can do this just with water if you wish. And the rest of the egg which is left, after having done this, you easily make a scrambled egg with that, or add it to another egg and make a nice omelette. Nothing goes to waste. Alright, that's the lids on. Now we're going to take this fork, and again we just want to crimp right the way around, like so. Right, they are looking good. Now they do need a hole in the middle, for which the back of this tin opener works very well. Just a little hole like that so that we don't burst. Now these are going into the oven for about 25 minutes at 170 degrees centigrade. Again, people have asked me why not include the cost of the baking. It's a little bit too complex because different people are on different tariffs, use different fuels in different countries. The costs of the baking itself varies so much, it's very difficult to include. But the price of the basic ingredients are more or less the same, definitely throughout the UK. So we are going to egg wash these. Generous coating of egg wash. Alrighty, into the oven they go. As I said, they need to stay in the oven for about 25 minutes, then we're going to get them out and see how they look. 25 minutes later, and here is one of the pies. And that's looking delicious and smells absolutely beautiful. I'm going to let this cool and I'm going to take them out of the cases and we'll take a look inside. Doesn't that look absolutely delicious? That's a deep filled mince pie, fresh out of the oven, 84p a piece. As you can see, holding its shape beautifully, the crust is done to a turn and that's going to be beautiful. The celery gives it a really nice tang. I mean, there's many different things that you can put into a mince pie. Some people will put Worcester sauce in, put some herbs in, maybe a little bit of tomato puree. It depends on your own taste. I like the food fairly basic. If it's a mince and onion pie, I like mince and onions in there. I do put the celery in because that does, as I say, give it a little tang and just add something to the flavour of the mince. Now, can I say, if you've enjoyed the video, please do consider subscribing to the channel. There's going to be many more videos like this, doing savoury dishes, pastries, sweets, desserts, all different types of baking, but it's always on a budget. And I'll give you the cost breakdown every time so that you know exactly how much a recipe like this will cost. And can I say, for everyone who has subscribed to the channel so far, greatly appreciate it. I thank you very much indeed. Please do keep sending the comments. I enjoy all of the comments. And as I say, if you're new to baking and you wish to have some recipes which you can do very easily and very inexpensively, please do consider subscribing to the channel and do give the video a thumbs up. I'm going to enjoy the rest of this pie and I thank you very much for watching.